welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, March 25th, 2019. I am Yvesta Bowens with the details. A review of the 2019 budget, the recent IMF reports on SVG's economic performance, and the global market outlook hosted last Friday by the First Citizens Investment Services made some key observations and recommendations for doing business in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As we hear in this report by Larissa Pugs-Kid, some areas highlighted that the government should pay close attention to is the tourism sector and debt repayment.
The opening of the Argyle International Airport has again received high commendation for the boost seen in the local tourism sector. However, it was noted at Friday's consultation on the global market outlook and budget review hosted by the First Citizens Investment Services (FCIS) that SVG has one of the highest accommodation costs in the Caribbean, which can impact negatively on the tourism product. Vanji Bagu Ramratan, Head of Research and Analytics for the First Citizens Investment Services, pointed out that it is an area that needs to be looked into, while stating that it is primarily due to high electricity and transportation costs.
Which means that it's relatively expensive to come to St. Vincent, right? And we've seen in the past tourism, even though it's considered as a high-end destination, it's price sensitive. It's an elastic good, right? If it becomes too expensive, people are going to switch out and go to cheaper destinations, right? So this is something that we really have to bear in mind. One of the reasons for this is supply side constraints, particularly the high cost of electricity. And some analysis done by the IMF shows that relaxing these constraints could increase the ECCU's market share by 40%. That's significant. And it really, and I'll kind of deal with it afterwards, but the importance of finding alternative and to reduce that electricity bill, so renewables and so on, it's very important.
Statistics show that stay-over arrivals for SVG is expected to increase this year, as well as next year once there are no external impacts. With the geothermal coming on stream in the next few years, high electricity costs should no longer be a problem. However, Bagu Ramratan said the political tensions around the world would affect SVG's economic growth with the uncertainty of the oil industry globally. SVG saw a reduction in its debt relief by 8%, which was mainly due to the Venezuelan debt forgiveness. However, the First Citizens Investment Services Analytics said the country's debt still remains too high.
So debt service as a percent of current revenue, which gives us an indication of how much revenue goes towards servicing our debt. And you can see that has been increasing over the last couple of years. So right now it's 27.2%. So it means that 27.2% of our revenue goes towards servicing debt. And is expected to increase next year even further. So that is something that we must look at and something that can erode fiscal sustainability in the medium term. Almost 45% of St. Vincent's debt is external debt. So a large percentage of it is external. But normally that's a bad thing because you are exposed to fluctuations in interest rates and so on.
Another area pointed out that needs to be looked into is SVG's wage bill, which is also the highest in the Caribbean. The wage bill currently stands at 12.8% of the gross domestic product. Access to credit for investment purposes by banks was also identified as an issue of concern. On the progressive side of things, the FCIS head said SVG exports are bang on, utilizing the storage facility at the airport.
The new airport has a large cargo terminal and a warehouse and cold storage and so on. And that is expected to boost agri-exports and sort of in line with the government's drive to do this as well. And just to give some numbers, fish and lobster exports up to Q2 of 2018 increased by over 50%. So that has tremendous potential going forward. And just some preliminary numbers as well. In 2018, there was in excess of 355,000 visitors to St. Vincent.
The annual Global Market Outlook and Budget Review by the First Citizens Investment Services is to give business leaders an insight of how to plan and strategize their operations for this year and beyond. Reporting for SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
Communication is of critical importance during an emergency, and the members of various communication units are sharpening their skills to provide crucial information when needed. This through a workshop hosted by the National Emergency Management Organization NEMO and facilitated by the Canadian Armed Forces. The workshop is being held ahead of the Trade Winds exercises, which will help to boost the capacity of local, regional and international law enforcement officers and public service officials in dealing with emergencies. Speaking at the opening ceremony today, Major Adam Thompson of the Canadian Armed Forces said it is important for persons in the field of communication to relay information quickly in order to save lives.
The scenario for the Trade Winds exercise is that volcano decides to become active and erupts, and then you're faced with a critical response where you're going to need to look at safeguarding people. For the media, the very key part is when, as public affairs practitioners, when we look at all the means that we can reach different audiences, and in this case, the critical audience being your population, the people, to get them to safety, it's how can that message from an organization like NEMO that stood up to respond, how can we get that message out to every person on the island who may be affected, which in an eruption of a volcano I think is just about everybody. I think it's the 107,000 people on this island would be in need of information to understand what to go and where to do. And so the media plays a very critical role in passing that information out in order to make sure people can respond effectively. In a lot of cases it's just information that allows people to make the right decisions that in a very short period of time can mean the difference between going to safety or potentially being in harm's way.
He added that it is not only important for communication companies to be fast, but also accurate.
It's a good part of what I would like to talk about today, because if you're not prepared, you will, as an organization, you may very quickly lose credibility. And credibility is what is going to gravitate people to seek out the information that you offer. And it's in part what we'll talk about is when a disaster strikes, you have a very short period of time to start releasing information publicly so that people view you as a source of credible information. If you are slow to do that, then it's very hard to recover. People will get information from other sources, and a lot of times that information may not be factually correct, and it may impede your efforts substantially.
More of the nation's youth are being encouraged to get involved in the Pan Against Crime program. The encouragement came from the brainchild of the program, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, at its 11th anniversary celebration concert at the Bible playing field yesterday. Larissa Pogsley-Kidd tells us more in this report.
The 11th anniversary celebration of the Pan Against Crime program at the Bayaboo playing field last Sunday was a pan explosion for the various pan sites across SVG involved in the program, which is an initiative of the government of SVG. The Pan Against Crime program, which is the brainchild of Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, has reportedly impacted positively on the participants. The program serves as a nursery for youths, teaching them the art of playing the steel pan and also assist them with guidance through key individuals and stakeholders in steering clear of crime, violence and delinquent behavior. Addressing the gathering at the 11th anniversary celebration concert, PM Gonsalves challenged more youngsters to get involved in the program.
If young people have themselves engaged in meaningful activity, and the teachers and parents and the communities must ensure that we can provide the facilities. Like, for instance, we can buy the pans, the government that is, and we can provide the trainers.
The Prime Minister outlined the long-term benefits of participating in the program, which he said has the potential to produce decent citizens.
Who go to court as accused persons, and I never see anybody who is in Pan Against Crime, anybody who is in the police youth clubs because they work together. I don't see anybody from the Cadet Corps or the Boy Scouts in front of the magistrate or the judge.
PM Gonzalez said besides the Pan Against Crime program, Sports Against Crime and Music Against Crime are two of the programs that persons should take advantage of. Rodney Small, one of SVG's leading panists, was one of the persons who benefited from the program. Police Commissioner Colin John committed to have his officers work with the budding panists once they adhere to the requirements.
Being disciplined. Discipline means turning up for practice. Discipline means proper time management. Discipline means being respectful to your instructors. Persons have the ability to enhance their skill, make yourself proud, make your country proud, make your community proud.
More than 950 persons have passed through the Pan Against Crime program, which started on the 20th of March 2008 with 3 bands. Now has 10 bands in various communities and schools throughout SVG. Reporting for SVGTV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has praised the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force for keeping crime under control for the first 3 months of this year. Speaking at the Pan Against Crime anniversary in Bayabu on Sunday, PM Gonsalves said during the period SVG recorded 1 homicide, which is commendable when compared to other Caribbean islands.
The police have been doing a very good job. And people are listening, and we see the schools and the parents. This year, for instance, on serious crimes like murder, there's only been 1 murder for the year. Thus far, let me knock wood. St. Kitts, which has less than half our population, they have about 12. Barbados have 20 thus far. We have to make sure that we solve our disputes in a peaceful way, and we have to make sure that the community and the parents and the teachers and the police and the lockouts and everybody work together to have a climate where we will be able to be peaceful and not getting about fighting and killing and so on and so forth.
The Pamelaisburg Government School took home the coveted title of School of the Year in the 2019 Primary School Performing Arts Festival PRISPAF. Over 50 primary schools participated in this year's competition with over 20 awards handed out for individual and group performances. Among those who received awards was Zahim Michael of the Fancy Government School, who was crowned Prince of PRISPAF, and Sheminique Roberts of the Turma Government School, who was crowned Princess of PRISPAF. Best Drama went to the Fancy Government School with the piece entitled From Rags to Riches. Best Choir was seized by the Sandy Bay Government School. This year also featured new awards, which included the PRISPAF Baby in male and female categories, which were designed to highlight the talents of the youngest performers. Speaking at the awards ceremony last Wednesday, representative of the Eastern Caribbean Group of Companies, the ECGC, which is the festival's main sponsor, Lon Holder, said he was pleased with the quality of performances by the students. He encouraged parents to play a role in nurturing and unearthing their children's talent.
It is now left to the parents and the teachers to provide the expert instruction, letting them practice in their free time, making the school or home the center of excellence, and they will develop the singleness of purpose in whatever they're doing in the form of talent. In short, parents, teachers, help them to find their chosen outlets and pay attention to their strengths and interests. Encourage them in the activities they enjoy. Help them to focus and practice, offering bountiful praise and constructive criticism. We at ECGC are here to support what is worthwhile as part of our social responsibility, and PRISPAF is one such avenue.
Holder also encouraged the youth to use the example of soca star Gamal Skinny Fabulous Doyle and keep an open mind in order to find their hidden talents.
That development does not occur in all at the same pace, and some develop faster than others. So not all will be spotted at the same time. Also, not all can do what they think they can do best. Remember that Skinny Fabulous started off in dancehall because he liked Bounty Killer. Now today, he's one of the biggest soca artists around. While it is good to concentrate on one thing, whether it is singing, dancing, or drama, be open-minded because you might have to change your direction along the way. Benjamin Bloom said, "What any person in the world can learn, almost all persons can learn if provided with the appropriate conditions of law."
Here is a snippet of some of the performances at the finals of PRISPAF 2019.
The Garifuna people in guerrilla warfare against the invading French and British for several years. As a brilliant military strategist, he won most of his battles. But on March 14th, 1795, this defender of Haruna, this paramount chief of my Garifuna, was ambushed and killed.
You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Amen. It wasn't easy for me, but God kept me through the difficult times. I am here, standing, representing my mother, teachers, and the entire village of Fancy. I am Judge Obaka, the new CEO of the Liming Hotel in Beckway. Education is really the way out of poverty.
The National Secondary School Band Showcase was held last Saturday at the decommissioned E.T. Joshua Airport tarmac, where close to 200 young musicians entertained patrons. The annual showcase is a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Tourism, Sports and Culture, the Ministry of Education, and the SVG Teachers Cooperative Credit Union. Addressing patrons, Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture Cecil Mackey said this year saw a major leap of young musicians participating in the showcase.
We had just about 100 musicians appearing before us, to almost a 100% increase. And that means that this festival has caught the attention of several. First of all, the vision and the mission was to attract the attention of the principals and the music teachers in the schools. Then, the mission was also to engage the students who were involved in music or who had the potential of becoming involved in music. Then, the attention was to the sponsors, both for the festival and also for the participating bands. And then our attention was to attract persons who could contribute musical items to the festival. And I want to say to the nation this evening that we have achieved all of these objectives, and in fact, we are in credit, we are in surplus in terms of the support for this festival.
Minister Mackey said the showcase is one way they are engaging the youth of SVG in productive activities so that they can have a bright future.
It means that corporates in Vincent and the Grenadines are willing to stand behind the young people of our nation. Because I mentioned 200 persons involved in this festival. Earlier this afternoon, I was involved in a youth program that engaged 90 persons in sport in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The more we engage our young people, is the greater our nation will go forward. This evening, we will hear 200 musicians, but as important, we will unleash these 200 musicians into the entertainment world in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, on the cruise ships, and in the musical industry generally throughout the world. It means, therefore, that our young people are being engaged in productive activity, all to the credit of our nation, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
President of the SVG Teachers Cooperative Credit Union, Jimmy Ford, said that he is happy to be associated with the building of young minds and talents in SVG.
We realize that there's no other profession that is involved with the molding of young people more than teachers. And as such, the Teachers Cooperative Credit Union was formed by teachers for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this is one of our corporate responsibility, to give back to the community, and in this case, contribute to the development of the young minds of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the young musicians. Last year, we promised to sponsor this competition for 4 consecutive years, to a tune of about $60,000. This year is our 2nd year, and we are committed to continue our sponsorship for the next 3 years.
Several local filmmakers seized the opportunity to display their work in the inaugural Haruna Film Festival. The festival is featuring local and regional films with viewings in various communities across the country. The first viewing of the festival was held last Friday at the Kaliakor playing field and continued yesterday at the Redemption Sharps playing field. It continues today at the Community College. Speaking from the Kaliakor playing field last Friday was the festival's director, Aika Rudet, who said she is pleased with the turnout so far. Rudet said the festival will give Vincentians an opportunity to see themselves positively represented through the eyes of the filmmakers.
And what they've discovered in a lot of cultural theories, that representation is incredibly impactful, which is why we wanted to have a festival where people, Vincentians, could see themselves on screen, which is something very rare, because even though we now have a lot of Caribbean films coming out, a lot of what we're exposed to is a lot of American and European stuff, and that stuff has its value and it's fun, and I enjoy, those series and those films as much as the next person, but there is something incredibly important about being able to see yourself reflected back in them and being able to say, well, actually, I have as much value as anybody else to be on screen, and we deserve that as a nation and as a region.
2 of the local filmmakers shared what was the inspiration behind their work.
My inspiration for working with this film, me growing up in Sharps and then it was like I never got the opportunity to actually go down the road because my father was this kind of person. He always wanted me to stay home, and he was a person who saw the community as something violent. And to me, I always believed that Sharps could be a better place. So while working with film, I saw a vision, I saw something that I could use a documentary and change people's negative perception and make them think more positive about the community, which is Redemption Sharps.
A short film that tells the story of a young girl and her relationship with her dolls and her hair. It touches on issues such as race, femininity, and self-presentation. Yeah. But basically it's about all the little black girls in St. Vincent whose parents just only buy them white dolls. That's what it's really about. It's about going downtown and the only store that you can find a black doll is Jack's, and it's actually Moana, who's like a Polynesian. Yeah, so she's like an indigenous person. Yeah, so she's not even black. She's like brown. Yeah, so that's what it is.
Right, so you're basically trying to bring awareness that these little things can have an effect on a child's psyche.
Well, No, it's correct. But it's more than to bring awareness. I guess it's to bring awareness, but it's also to like be malicious and point it out, because the way how she confronts it is very violent. You know, she snaps this ball into and dismembers it. So it's really about telling or saying that we have to find a way to help these children to, I guess, cut off this heritage that was given to.
Some of the persons who viewed the films at the Kaliakwa playing field shared with us their thoughts about the festival so far.
The film festival was something remarkable, something that we should be able to look forward to annually, or maybe even sooner than that. I think that the work that they put into it is tremendous, and that is something that we should encourage from the youths. My family member, Jadiel Foster, putting out his own film and being a part of it, I think it's a huge success for him. I think it's a huge success for every Vincent post.
It's a fantastic concept. I've been always supportive of the concept from the get-go. Well, you know, my background is African, so Nigeria is very well known for Nollywood and movies, so I've grown up always knowing that movies were things that could take people places. And you know, the great thing is that St. Vincent is doing the same. It's going to help expand knowledge. It's going to also help a lot of creative people find the niche. Because sometimes something as small as this can really go places.
They usually all have a message, and I like that we had one, and I like that St. Vincent's trying to move forward, trying to show that, yes, you know, education for years has been about, oh yeah, study your books, blah, 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 but no, the different types of education, different types of intelligence. I'm glad that we're starting to embrace those sorts of things.
I actually enjoyed the majority of the film shown. I really identified with Pat Law by Atlee Overton. We did the film about Redemption Shafts. That was great. It showed that, you know, how certain cultures that we glorify, you know, how it's really affecting and kind of killing our own Vincent culture.